Hello and welcome. I'm Master Lama Rasaji. So happy to be with you at the beginning of the week. This is our Monday edition of Rasaji Speaks. I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Well, for us here in America, Thanksgiving is around the corner. And for Mita and me today, it's our 21st wedding anniversary. So happy anniversary, sweetheart. Love you much. Have no idea how much. So I see Mita. Give her a big hug for me today. All right. What's going to be our topic? Well, don't forget, today is Monday, so that means Master David's music class at 1 o'clock Eastern. And a lot of neat things going on. There we go. So a lot of great things going on. We've got live streaming going on for boot camp, and that price will change December the 1st. So take a note of that. It's a great price right now for everything you're going to get on Saturday. Might be one or two more tickets. You need to check with Sister Nan and Deborah if you're thinking of coming last minute, okay? Well, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about health and longevity. That's right, health and longevity. We have the by far greatest system on the planet, bar none, when it comes to health and longevity. And it's rooted in our first Lama, Boganathar, that the world knew famously as the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. What they don't know, 99% of the Chinese, the Indians, the Tibetans, and probably even a higher level of Americans, is they were one and the same people. If you do enough research, you can find that out for yourself. Boganathar was a wandering sadhu, a monistic sadhu from India, born Brahmin, actually very kind of tall at that time for a Brahmin, about 6'2", right? And he spent a good couple of decades mastering four basic yogas: Japa yoga, the Malabi yoga, which helps to master this; Kundalini yoga, which is the study of chakra rotation and the energies moving through the chakra; Hatha yoga, conditioning and stretching yoga; and of course, pranayama, which means breathing not only oxygen, but breathing energy into your body. He had already become a master, but when he looked around at the different teachers he had at the time, they cared very little for their physical body. I mean, they looked like they came from some concentration camp. And he said, you know, their interpretation of God is their business. But the God that I'm pursuing, the light of truth that I'm pursuing, well, he is a God in 3D, 4D, and 5D and beyond. He's not just a God in 5D. You see, I don't have to die and leave my body aside to experience God in nature and God in me. That's right. So that's the beginning of how he put together the teachings of the Tao, which means the way. After he got into China, he spent 5 decades doing his asanas from Hatha Yoga. And he noticed that if he rested his posture in one particular stretch, breathed a certain way, he would get one form of chi. But the transference of weight from one leg to the other, from bending over to arching his back, twisting sideways, was producing another kind of chi flow. That was a huge revelation at the time. Probably even more profound than that was he noticed if he was by the waterfall, there was another kind of chi. But if he was by the woods, it was another kind of chi. The Yangtze River, another chi. A mountain, a chi. Deep in the forest, another chi. As he began to do what he referred to initially as gentle yoga, this gentle moving yoga that later would be called Tai Chi Gong when he got to Tibet. He noticed he could milk the chi like a baby milking its mother or someone milking a cow with a certain movement, a certain openness with the mind, and a certain way to breathe the pranayama, which basically means life over death. In other words, breathing that life force, moving that life force. About a decade into it, he was well past 75 years old. But something strange began to happen. He began to reverse the aging process, and he stayed looking like a healthy 65-year-old for a long, long time. After about 50 years into that, right, a general from the original emperor of the father of the present emperor asked a promise of that general. That was to take care of his young son. The older emperor was getting ready to pass on, and he knew his son was very young, somewhere between 16 and 18 at the time. And he knew he wouldn't have the wisdom or the guidance of his kingdom. So the general said he would become his personal bodyguard and personal service. And out of thanksgiving to the one he served for many, many years, he made that pledge and he made that vow. He heard of this holy man with a long beard and long hair and looked nothing like anyone in China, right? And most people wouldn't pay attention to him because he blended right in with the foliage. I mean, he looked like part of the foliage, you know. The general showed up one day and said, "Listen, I'm hearing people come close to you when there's healing going on. And I'm here to ask you to come with me. I'm serving my master's master, and I need your help. The doctors of our time in our country and in our, city, they have given up on him. They've only given him a couple more years to live. Undoubtedly, he had a neuromuscular disease, and it there's a good chance that it was because his father was incessant and sleeping with family members, because it was nothing for an emperor not to have several wives and a half a dozen to a dozen concubines. So he probably didn't even know where the child came from. The emperor Qin, and he became the first unrecognized Tai Chi Gong student. So Boganathar worked with him for several years and nurtured him and got more movement out of him. And the most important thing, got a smile of laughter and joy working together. The emperor lived a good 24 to 25 years before he passed. So about 5 times longer than the acupuncturist and the herbalist of the time said that he should live. So it was amazing to see. It was kind of an experiment for Boganathar Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu left China, and then trickled out across Nepal and back into Tibet. And in Tibet, they said that he meditated for decades, trying to understand the power that had been bestowed upon him by the Divine Mother. And he started reflecting as he closed his eyes to the side of a mountain in Tibet. The snow had stopped. It was coming into late spring, starting to melt in the low places. And here he was contemplating the decades he spent with the Divine Mother. And he realized that the root of all healing and all transformation of the human body was ruled by his mother. And if he wanted to change his health, he needed to change his attitude and change his teacher, and he did. After meditating, they said for years, the master who had been pursuing him on the spiritual decided to materialize. And the world would know this individual in the Judean Christian world is Melchizedek. But in the city yoga world, they would know him as the founder and the father of Hatha Yoga, which means the yoga of sun and moon, yin and yang. And he worked with him for quite some time. As a matter of fact, as he took on his first disciples, everything was going really fine. And he realized he was developing a power even more powerful in India and a power more powerful than he experienced in China. In Tibet, where you don't have the four balanced seasons of the year, inside of him, with all of his qigong that he had learned to develop, regulating his thermostat, regulating his blood pressure, his blood sugar, he realized that the human being, if they were humble enough, could be taught to impact and to slow down, to stop the aging process. And in very advanced forms, if they were humble enough and disciplined enough, they could actually reverse a lot of those symptoms. And that's what he did. And that's what North Melchizedek taught him. And he began to pass that on to the first 12 master lamas, of which Lamaji today is one of those master lamas. And this is what I'm here to do, to share with humanity. And I'm happy that you're here. In 26, the year of the fire horse, Lamaji is going to do something that he's never done in 42 years of teaching or 57 years of training. I'm going to pick out 12 individuals. You might call them my 12 apostles, if you will. And I'm going to teach them how to master everything that we do at the Circle of Chi and create a balanced life. That's right, a balanced life. And that will be the focus. I'm excited about the new year. I'm excited about the 2 or 3 new programs that will be launching this year, which one of them is I'm mentioning now. But at our convention coming up at the end of January of 26 at Atlantic Beach at the Ocean One Hotel, during the tour and convention, we will reveal the changes that are coming. And people are going to be so incredibly happy when they hear all the details. I thank you today for being with me. And as we say in the Far East, Baraka Busha. May the blessings be to you and your glorious family. I'll see you tomorrow on the Tuesday's edition of Rasaji Speaks. God bless you.